Hi, my name is Peter Knegt, and I am here with Bilal Baig and Grace Lynn Kung, the stars of the television series Sort of, with Bilal also is the co-creator of. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having us.
So I just want to say congratulations on the show. It makes me proud to work for the CBC. I think there's never really been anything like it in the Canadian media landscape, and I don't mean because of representation. I just mean it nails a wit and a warmth in sort of a comedic drama that we don't normally see on Canadian television. So I really loved the second season as much as the first season, and it's sort of centered around the idea of love, sort of vaguely, but like so many different kinds of love. And Sebi's narrative is sort of centered around trying to find a simple and pure love, a Rachel McAdams kind of love.
That's what I want. My family and friends, and I want that uncomplicated Rachel McAdams love. That's doable, right?
Without giving too much away, do you want to talk about Sebi's journey in the second season and what you were trying to express with that?
Yeah, sure. Well, we definitely thought that after what they've kind of gone through in the first season, that they might be at a place where they're open to love in a way that maybe they had never been before, and that's exciting because I think with love comes trouble too, and
yeah, inevitably.
Right,
yeah.
and with someone like Sebi. So I think the arc for them this season was just about manifesting this thing out into the world, and then I think again, kind of quietly or gently, exploring what that means in all facets of their life. And I really love that we get to kind of really look at family this season too for multiple characters, but particularly Sebi with the arrival of their father coming back from Dubai, and what it means to kind of be in love with friends too, or showing up with your friends. I think really, the journey is just about coming to terms with perhaps maybe the best love, the deepest love isn't simple at all, actually. And I think Sebi does learn that through the second season.
And Bessie also has, quite the journey in the second season. Definitely different than the first season.
Very complicated love, yeah.
So, it's even probably harder to not give anything away, but you want to talk a little bit about your experience and Bessie's experience in the second season.
Yeah, for me, my friendships, and those that are or platonic or whatever you want to, ones that aren't necessarily romantic, have been just as important to me. I've never wanted them to be at a different tier. I love this person to the same level, just in a different, it maybe manifests sometimes differently, sometimes it doesn't. But I never get to see that on TV, and I love to see it with these two characters, because I think there's something special between them, but it's so unspoken, as it usually, I feel like sometimes is in life, and then gets messy, but they're always meeting each other, and they're always on board. They're always kind of like, even in different eras, I feel like they'd end up sitting on the same train beside each other and talking. Do you know what I mean? So that feels really special, and I'm glad that now Bessie's awake and we can kind of have this mess.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for everybody to see it, and I don't think that gives anything away.
No, I'm excited for everyone to see it too. And that's sort of just speaks to this, but the show is about transition in all its many, many, many forms. And I think the fact that this show sort of came out at a time when all of us are really going through it. It's been a very transitional period for society, the world, and a lot of people's personal lives. I think that's why it really spoke to me too. In terms of over the past year, the reactions you've had from people who have seen the show, do you want to talk a little bit about sort of the positivity that you felt from putting the show out into the world?
I feel like a word that gets used a lot when people talk about their experience watching the show is healing, and I think I take that pretty seriously, because I think that there is a lot of pain in the world and in particular communities. And a girlfriend of mine described the show as like a hug. Watching the whole first season was like a big long hug, and I'm like, that's really cool. That there's people can find peace, and of course there's realness in the show too, and honesty, and not just kind of ease, but I think that's also what people are responding to, that we're not offering some cutesy version of our lives, but that it is real, and we can still kind of find healing or comfort in that. Yeah, I think that means a lot to me.
The show is I feel quietly resonant. It's not one that's knocking down doors. It's not not in terms of brightness and loudness and music, and it's just it's a beautiful story that I feel instead it invites you in this time when there's so much noise and there's so much trying to grab your attention and saying, pay attention to me or buy this, that like this is the beauty I feel like of the show, that, you know, like it's hitting people, and that's like the most beautiful thing, because we don't get to be in those rooms with those people. We don't know what everybody's going through, but that they're finding something and they're reaching out and they're saying, thanks for making me feel a little bit less alone, or making me feel heard, or making me laugh, which is so integral too.
Yeah, I mean, I think you articulate why the show stands out in like a really crowded landscape. There's a million shows out there, but this I think stands out very much for the reasons you just said. And I just finished the second season last night in my own home in bed while eating dinner. So it's very surreal to be sitting with you right now.
I have to deal with Dad, dealing with you existing.
I don't know what to do. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Are the nails necessary when you go there?
I love my nails.
Yeah, I feel the rain, I'm washed in greatness.
I also love that it's a love letter to Toronto. We almost never see this. You know, if you think of like the various examples of Canadian television that has really taken off internationally, a lot of those shows are vaguely set nowhere. But this show is very much set in Toronto. Do you want to talk a little bit about why that was important to you and what it feels like to like sort of be this international rep for Toronto? Like I feel like a lot of people around the world are getting a sense of Toronto because of this show.
Yeah, I remember when we premiered this season in France, first season 1, I was sitting with the audience when the first 4 episodes were screened, and someone behind me, French speaker, so tried to kind of speak in English and was asking what city the show is based in, and I said Toronto, and she was like, "Oh my God, it's such a pretty city," you know, and it clearly felt like such a realization for her, and that was a cool moment for me, because when Fab and I were cooking what this show kind of looked or felt like, Toronto is just the place that we both knew and where our worlds intersected, so kind of made a lot of sense that Sebi would be here too, and that all their worlds would also kind of exist and mesh, and I just love, you know, also offering to the world that people who look like Sebi, people who look like Bessie, and all these other characters are also like people who play and work and exist here in this city. And it felt like too much work to pretend that it's another city. Like, I don't know. You'd have to do research about, well, what coffee shop. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that could have been fun.
Yeah.
But, also, I feel like the first time around, like when the first season came out, there was a lot of press centered around it, you know, the show being, you know, the first this and the first that, because it was the first this and the first that. But this time around, I feel like it's just like, oh, a really great show that won a bunch of awards is coming back, and we're excited to watch it again. Does it feel like kind of relieving to not have the same kind of pressure that maybe it felt the first time around, where people were just talking about how great the show is, as opposed to like all the revolutionary things the show had done?
Like, I kind of want to keep making stuff for as long as people are down to kind of, keep listening to me or whatever. But I have a feeling that responsibility might follow me along kind of everywhere I go, given, everything, whatever. So, but I've always also, even in season 1, I kind of talked about, in my kind of, the way I like to move through the world is not to freak out about all, anything. And so I've got a pretty good kind of grasp on, with this show in particular, it's so much about following my heart, listening to Fab's heart and the other writers that we work with, working with the producers and their notes, so it doesn't feel like I'm trying to make something to please everybody. And also I think this season is a little bit more dangerous and naughty, and I'm curious about the way people might respond to some of the moments where we push a little bit into discomfort,
Yeah. Another great thing about the second season is there was a trans mentorship program on set. Actually, Luis de Felipe was a guest on the show a little bit ago, and they had the same thing on their film.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the program and sort of how that all worked?
Yeah, I mean, we caught wind of it through knowing that the pilot version of it ran on Luis's project. And so Gabrielle and Anna, who run the Trans Film Mentorship, are these amazing kind of thinkers and planners, and a lot of the groundwork that had already been built, and we just partnered with them to make sure that we had the presence of trans and non-binary people in our crew, and kind of offering them the skills so that if they want a career in this, we can show them that it's kind of possible. Because one of the things that I also loved, not only about giving the participants of that program training, but any crew head that they were, department head that they were working with, also received training on how to work with, younger folks, queer trans folks, and so it became this thing about everybody, which I think is a reflection of the world, like everyone having to, make some space, listen, learn a couple of things, and for the most part, I think it was pretty successful. I know I had a great time there. I thought that so many of them were so funny too, and it's so great I just wanted our crew, our set, to really reflect the world that the show reflects and that our world actually is, and I think it was really successful, and I think they learned a lot of skills, and I'm excited for what that means for our sector.
I just want to talk about something that I think is really interesting. Last year, when the Canadian Screen Awards happened, you didn't submit because there were gendered categories, and they changed it. Gotham Awards changed it, and it feels like, in general, awards bodies are finally listening to that. How do you feel about that sort of change that's happened in the last, really year?
Yeah, I think it's cool, and also, I don't know if this is controversial or whatever, but I didn't pursue this work to try to actually radically, change systems or whatever. I think we're telling stories that compel us, and it's nice that the world kind of can respond to the voices that we're bringing in, and bodies and perspectives like mine. And if other people want to celebrate that, cool. And I think it's great that it opens possibilities for other people and other actors and writers too. But it's easier for me to just kind of focus on the work and let all the nice stuff be nice. But I'd get way too distracted if I was completely consumed by
trying to change the world.
Just
Just casually trying to.
But you did casually change the world a little bit with this, and that's just one of the many positive impacts the show has had.
My father is finding it difficult to process who I am as a person.
And I guess just to end things off, what are some other things that you both are watching right now that are exciting for you?
I recently I had watched the first 2 seasons of Rami, but Rami recently released their 3rd season, so I went and watched the 1st season, 2nd season, straight through the 3rd season.
I wish I answered first, because mine is Housewives. And your answer is so much more, intelligent and.
Oh, I watch trash too.
Yes,
let's be
we
serious.
talk
We
about
bound
trash
about trash.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. But Beverly Hills for me is really doing it, and I think I'm in this place right now where I've been outputting so much, so my input needs to be kind of
Don't feel shame about you.
Or whatever,
I mean, as a fan of both Remy and Housewives, I think both answers are incredibly valid.
Okay.
Thank you both so much for spending time with me, and I hope that everybody watches Sort of, which premieres on CBC November 15th. And it's also available to stream for free on CBC Gem, and it will be premiering on HBO Max on December 1st. Yay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh wow, you're really going for it.
I know, I don't know.
Gosh.
I don't know.
Are you ready?
I'm gonna hide this. We'll see how it goes, this one.